All right, everybody. It's taking me a minute to get started here, but let's get going with the podcast. Welcome to the Art with Errol podcast, and this is our Monday check-in. I'm Errol. I'm your host. We're back live. I'm bringing it back to YouTube. I decided today. If you don't know who I am, I'm an artist, graphics designer, gamer. Retired veteran, 20 years in the Navy. All right, I think that's a pretty decent intro. I mean, I gotta work on my intros a little bit, right? Gotta work it out a little bit, y'all. It is what it is. But satisfied with it's good enough. Good enough. Okay. So I'm definitely trying this out with the dual stream using a different version or a different way of doing it, because I've had several issues trying to stream to Twitch and YouTube at the same time. I don't know why. I always have problems, but everything seems to be buttery smooth right now, so I'm kind of cool with it, which is great. As always, y'all, like to dive into what happened last week. As we all know, it was Father's Day Sunday. We started off good with the podcast. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get any game streams or artwork done last week, so it was kind of a slow week. We just kind of rolled along with our bit of gaming news, which I've been, I think that's been helping my gaming channel grow. So I'm going to stick with that. I really like doing that. It's kind of fun. I just pick a topic, usually just one, something I think that's interesting in the gaming news, and just try to get community engagement. It's more like to just build community engagement, or, get people talking or whatever. That's usually what I try to aim at doing, with that piece. So, I do want to develop it more as we go along. I always say that we're going to keep trying to refine it and fine tune it and make it better, because it seems to be bringing more people to the platform, which is awesome. So if you don't know, on YouTube we have two channels. It's Art with Errol, which is where I try to put the podcast and the artwork, and then the Art with Errol gaming channel, which is where we just kind of like do gaming content, bit of gaming news, and live streams of gaming or whatever, unboxing of gaming stuff and stuff like that. We try to keep it, separate, which, one channel grows more than the other, which is, just the way it is. And I think the gaming channel is growing way faster than our art channel here. But, just like this podcast, I always like to talk it out and think about it. How can we improve? How can we get better? Obviously, if I could do artwork every day, I think the art channel would grow faster. Unfortunately, I don't have time for all that. And I always mention this is my enemy is time. And I think with a lot of creators, people that want to be a creator or whatever, time is the enemy. You don't always have the time, especially when you work a full-time job. Like I work a full-time job. I think most folks that are trying to be a content creator work a full-time job. So, it's based around that and your family. So if you have a family, it's based around those two things, right? Work and family, which those two actually come first, family, then work, then this content creation thing is just, something fun, something we enjoy doing, something we're trying to progress at, but you got to find the middle ground between everything that you're doing in life. So I just look at it as how can we improve with the time we have, and what tweaks can we make to make it a little better, and I think that's the way I've been trying to approach my content creation or whatever. So, and I think, doing a multi-stream is probably going to be better. So I want to just do that, and it may be easier instead of having to upload the VOD to YouTube later. So we're going to try this again for a while, I kind of bounce back and forth on that. You know, is what it is. Just trying different things. I like to try different things and see what will work. Um, Other than that, man, the week, last week was quite interesting. Because appointments and other things pop up, and it just was like, well, I can't get what I want to get done for that week, and that's fine. I mean, this happens. It's life. Life stuff happens, right? You have this idea in your head, or a schedule in your head, or a plan in your head, and you want to put it to action, but sometimes other things may hinder that or step in the way, and you just have to work around those things, and that's just is what it is. And that's what happened last week. So hopefully this week we'll be able to at least get some sketching. I haven't got the sketch down that I wanted for the Gabriel painting. So if you've been following the artwork, you know that we've been working towards doing a painting of Gabriel and Mary as he's bringing a message from God that she's going to have Jesus, right? So we want to do our own version of that, and I got a great concept for it, but I've been trying to lay it down in like the sketchbook, and I haven't really quite got it the way I want it. So we'll continue working on that this week. Once we can get like a sketch close enough to what we want, we'll try to put it on canvas and see how it turns out there, and then we'll start painting once we've got a good sketch on the canvas. At least that's the idea. That's the way forward. So this week I would like to lay down some more sketch work. Continue the sketch we was working on, see how that goes, where it leads us, and then move to putting that on canvas at some point. So yeah, that's the way forward for that. As far as like gaming, the only game we got through was Mouse PI for Hire. We got through that. But last week we didn't get any gaming in, so I want to continue the road of 007. I wonder why when they made 007 First Light, why they didn't. Yeah, we kind of transitioned into gaming in case y'all just didn't realize it. We're transitioning into gaming. So we finished Mouse PI for Hire, and I want to get further in the story of 007 First Light, but I wonder why they didn't add a multiplayer like 007, why they didn't do that. I feel like that would have been good to have more player attention to that game. You could have had the old school version where you just maybe it's you don't have to have, I think, a server. You could do it the old school way where you can play people online, but it's small shooter type thing. You just I don't know. I feel like they could have made that into something, but maybe that's something they may have coming in the works or something. But that should have been included in the game. You're making 007, you got to have that that multiplayer shooter in there. I feel like that was a missed opportunity. That should have launched with the game. 007 GoldenEye, right? That was the move. Anyway, just a little side thought on that, but I do want to make it further into the game, further into the story. I only played through that first portion, which I think was just the the introduction part of the game, so I would like to make it further into the game, but I only really have so much time, and I try to aim for game streaming on Fridays, but that hasn't been working out during this summer. So it's kind of been on a struggle bus of getting some of that gameplay in, some of that game time in, but it's okay. Not a big deal. We'll just keep moving forward and aim for this Friday if we can squeeze something in. So If you don't know or are not familiar with my schedule, I try to do the podcast every Monday, and then, Tuesdays have been, like kind of a wash because I always have something going on Tuesday evenings. But that may be changing. So, we may be looking at squeezing something in on Tuesdays, maybe moving art. It'll be maybe some Tuesday art in the future coming up shortly. Tuesday, maybe Wednesday and Thursday, and then like gaming on Friday or something. I don't know. Trying to figure it all out. But schedule may be switching up, but for the past few months or so, it's been Monday podcast. We've been doing, Wednesday and Thursday artwork days, and then a game stream on Friday. At least that's been the schedule layout. Which I said, there may be some changes coming up here shortly. So we're gonna try our best to like fit something in on Tuesdays, since that's that block, that schedule may be changing a little bit, which would be good. We need a little change. A little change here and there. It's good. Switch things up. It'd be nice. I just need that to open up. So if it's opening up like I think, and we have time, we may be able to squeeze something in, which would be good. So we're gonna see how that works out. And we may kick it off today. Tomorrow. If this is gonna work out, we'll see. We may be able to get like some artwork in tomorrow. Maybe I do two art days, but maybe I make it Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday will be game days. Maybe I could do something like that. Maybe we do it like that. Give us an even split of 2 and 2. So we'll have one podcasting day, 2 art days, and 2 game streaming days. I don't know. We'll take a look at it. I'm just trying to figure some things out. And that's the thing. It's like, I think you have to be flexible when it comes to content creation. You got to be flexible, especially when, like I said, not everybody that does content creation has a family and, works a job. Some folks, are just full time. And if you're full time, you're not in that category, then it doesn't apply to you, obviously, right? But if you're like me, you have a family, you have a job, you got to get in where you fit in. You got to get in where you fit in, and sometimes it can be easy. Sometimes it can be difficult. Sometimes, you have to do like last week. What we had to do was it was a wash week, right? You didn't get much done. We got the podcast in. We got just my little video I make in the morning before I go to work, which that's why that video is like, super short. I keep it as a short. I just try to like get something in, which, it's been working, it's been working as far as content wise. I know some folks have said, I need to speak faster. I need to, I got some changes I need to make, and I hear the critiques, and, I like the feedback. Sometimes I just can't make it work, which I'll keep trying, longer video. I think that's what it was. Should be longer. Someone mentioned that, hey, you should do it a little longer. That would be great if I had the time. I just usually don't have the time to make it longer. And being able to fit it into a short allows me to do double content. So, longer videos may be coming down the pipeline, just as of right now. I look at it as, I got to work with the time constraints I have, yes, I am retired from the Navy, but I do work still, not everybody is fortunate enough to retire and not have to work, That's just is what it is. That's life. That's life. That's not how this works. Anyway, y'all, as far as speaking fast, I try to speed up, sometimes, but I am a Southern boy, so I do have my little slow moments, In case you didn't know, I am from Louisiana. I don't live in Louisiana, but I'm from Louisiana. And yes, I am a little slow sometimes when it comes to talking. I don't talk fast. I don't always talk fast. Anyway, other than that, the week I think was great. Father's Day was great. The weekend was great. Spending time with my family was great. So I prioritize that on the weekends. That's why I usually don't make any content I'm trying not to make any content on the weekends. I want that reserved for my family time. So I try hard not to game. A lot of times I want a game and I like, you know what? I need to do more family time stuff. So I gotta make it priority. Make that priority. That's got to be a conscious effort to make priority, family time, weekend family time. That's what that got to equate to. So that's what I've been trying to do over the last several months. It's just prioritizing. And I have some days where I just want to game, and I'll just game that I don't stream, or whatever. But the majority of the time lately, I've been trying to make it family time. Like I want that to be family time. So it's been my priority for the weekends. So I'm not making content and I'm not streaming or anything like that on weekends. You only got one life you live. You only got so much time to spend with your family. And while my kids want to hang out with me, I need to make it a priority to hang out with them. At least that's my thought process on that. So that's why I reserve the little bit of time I have, which is generally around 1 to 2 hours during the week, that I can squeeze in there and make some content, because I like making content. Like I said, this is more of a fun leisure thing, and I'm not a full-time creator, but I do want to try to learn to grow and learn to make better content. And that's why I think the podcast has been helpful for me to lay down ideas and just talk things out, and think about scheduling and think about, all this stuff. I think you speak things into existence, by, not only talking about it, but taking action, right? So, you got to have those two dynamics, right? You got to talk about it. You've got to lay out a plan. You've got to take action on that plan, right? That's how you make progress. At least that's what I believe. Is that always going to work out for you? Probably not. All this stuff I think is a crapshoot. Some people look out and they pull an audience and they vibe with an audience. So a lot of people don't vibe with me. I don't know. It is what it is. Maybe I'm not that person, but I look at it as like most of my life I've been kind of a shy person anyway. So I kind of like, growing up, I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't like interacting with people. So, trying to do it later in life, it's different, Everybody's story is different, right? Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's pathways are different. So, you got to look at, your strengths and your weaknesses and say, hey, how do I alter things? How do I change things to get better at something, That's the way I'm thinking about all this stuff. And sometimes just speaking it and hearing it, right, helps you learn, That's what I think. It helps me learn, I think a lot of people benefit from the audio, visual, and, written stuff down, writing, having a written plan or whatever. So I think those things are beneficial into like helping us progress, Now some people have different learning habits, learning traits or abilities, right? They're able to just hear it and grasp it like that, concepts and stuff, Not everybody's like that though. Some people need all of them, like I think I'm a type of person. I think I need like all of them, the hearing, the feeling, the engaging, all that. I need all of it to like make something click in here. At least that's my thoughts on my way of learning. I don't know how everybody else learned, but I think if you utilize a lot of those, it may help you learn things better or faster or grasp it. At least that's what I think. everybody's got their own opinions and stuff too. So anyway, so last week was great. Over the weekend for Father's Day, we got to go see. We made it like a movie thing because that's what they asked me what I wanted to do, and I was like, yeah, movies. Let's go see some movies. So we did. For the kids, we went and seen the Toy Story 5, right? Saw the new Toy Story. It was good. Kids loved it. I thought it was a good little movie. Also, Masters of the Universe. I enjoyed it, man. I don't know how everybody else feels about it, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was, a good, not only nostalgia, kind of like, just, bringing that He-Man back, Masters, but, having Dolph Lundgren and, the original He-Man who, the Masters of the Universe, the original from the original movie, that those little touches, and I think, the little puns and stuff, and, I thought it was good. I enjoyed it, man. I think it was thought out pretty well and was done well. So I enjoyed it. But you guys can let me know what you guys thought about it if you saw it. I really enjoyed it. I think the cast that they picked was great. So well done. I think it was well done. It was a really enjoyable movie. So, because I remember coming home, or being off on the weekend, Saturday morning cartoons, watching He-Man, Hercules, Centurions, I didn't really watch She-Ra that much, but She-Ra every now and then, a lot of those cartoons, man, just old cartoons, right? Well, anyway, I remember all those, watching. Then X-Men. Later on, it was X-Men. Ultraman. I remember I used to love to watch that. I think, was that Sunday, though? I think that was before Kung Fu Sunday, you would watch Ultraman. Because Sunday, it was Kung Fu. It was all about the Kung Fu. But Saturday was Saturday morning cartoons. They had so many different ones. A lot of good stuff. I remember. Just real cool to see it on the big screen again, He-Man. I bet you they're going to sell a lot of toys, especially if like kids, catch on to it again. I don't know if they have any ambition of doing a cartoon again. Or I know they've reinvented it a few times, right? They've had different versions of He-Man. The original OG one is the one I like. Anyway, that's enough on the Masters of the Uniform. It was a great Sunday. I enjoyed it. We went to church, had breakfast, and saw some movies, man. So to me, it was a wonderful, very wonderful Father's Day. I hope if you're a father yourself out there that you had a great Father's Day too. But you can also, you can let me know in the comments how your day went. Mine was great. I really had a great day. So this week, I'm going, like I said, there may be a change. I may be able to squeeze in artwork tomorrow. And I think we're going to see if that's going to work, based on my new schedule for this week. The plan is to get artwork in. Maybe we roll what we was just talking about. Artwork on Tuesday, Wednesday, and then maybe we can do gaming on Thursday, Friday, and that can give me an extra day to kind of like get through some games because I'm behind on getting through games, y'all. I don't know if you listening to the podcast and you're not a gamer and this part don't apply to you. There's games I want to get through. I still haven't beat Crimson Desert, so I'm kind of stuck in that. I haven't played it in a while, and I know they made several updates to it. several updates since I last played it. I can't even talk. Um, slurring my words a little bit, but several updates since I last played it, and supposedly now you can like adjust the buttons and stuff, the controls. So like I kind of want to dive back into that, but I want to get through 007. So 007 First Light is the one I need to like focus on because we done beat Mouse PI for Hire. They got other games coming up that I definitely gonna want to play. I'm sad that PlayStation is not gonna be bringing their single player games to PC anymore because that was the purpose of me switching. You know, I was thinking, oh, you know, we're gonna have the PlayStation games gonna come to PC. It's gonna be good, but they're all starting to pull back the reins on putting games everywhere, which ultimately I think it's going to come back to that because they're going to need the way games are so expensive. I believe that they're going to eventually have to cave and be like, hey, we need to put these games on PC and other platforms to make our money back. I think that's just the nature of where gaming is going to go. And plus, the console is catching up to PC, man. It's catching up slowly. It's been slowly creeping up to PC levels. So at some point, and this has been my prediction for a long time, consoles are just going to be PCs, man. They're just going to be, they're practically PCs now. They have all the same kind of hardware. They're eventually just going to be a personal computer. They're just going to be a gaming computer. That's all they're going to be. And you're going to be able to play. There's going to be a point where it's going to be like, why are we making these games in like these weird formats when we can just make them in one format and sell the game everywhere? Because that's going to be the move, man. They're slow to do it, but I think at some point, when the level gets so powerful that it's just a PC, it's going to be like, why are you making it so that nobody else can access it, when you can sell the game and make a lot more money if you reach everybody. Trying to trap people in these ecosystems, and I think that's going to eventually, I think they're going to have to cave at some point, especially with the way the cost of hardware is, the cost of games, making games and stuff. I think that at some point they're going to be this crossroad of, hey, we need to like just meet in the middle. And PC is going to be the route. It's going to be like just make it in the one format. If you think about it, they got PCs that are like little boxes that you can buy now that you can pretty much game on and do stuff. It's going to that. If you think about what Steam is coming out with, it's a PC that's like a console. You can hook it up to the TV if you want. It's a PC though. At the end of the day, it's a PC. It's a PC. Which I'm kind of excited for seeing like how much that's gonna cost, because the hardware has just been ridiculously expensive. We got that coming up here shortly. I'm thinking we should see something within this week or maybe next week on that. We're also going to get the price of GTA, but GTA is not going to be on PC, so I'm not trying to buy the game twice. So for me, I think I'm hard stuck on, I'll just wait till it comes to PC. I'm just going to try to ignore people and not watch people play it. That's going to be hard because, a lot of people are going to be streaming it and all that stuff. So I think I'm just going to have to avoid those streams, and then when it comes out on PC, I'll play through the game. I never been like on the GTA Online anyway, so like the online portion doesn't mean I want the story, game portion, which to me I think is ridiculous that they're not doing day and day release, on PC along with console. Being that like I would think it should be easier to put it on all the platforms. But that's because they got these specifics to the hardware with the consoles. Like I said, when that goes away, because it's eventually going to happen, I think. When it goes away and they're all just PCs, then it'll be easier because anybody can just get the game on the platform they got, which would be better for the consumers, I think. A lot of people have these exclusive sell consoles, but why are you stuck to the console? People say that. They be like, and then they'll be quick to say, don't be stuck to like one company, but you stuck to these consoles. Like, let it be free. Let it be on everything, Get away from that, Let people make hardware that can play any game. That's what I think it should be, If it's more of a console like, piece of hardware that can run PC games, there you have it. Then everybody can develop for one platform. You don't gotta worry about like, I gotta like make it so that it can run on the PS whatever. It just one format. That's what they need to get to. It'll make it easier for everybody. Not only will it be easier for developers, it'll be easier for consumers. You can just buy it, own it, play it on whatever. As long as the hardware is strong enough to run it. That's how it should be. At least that's how I believe it should be. Anyway, that's my rant on that, And the thing is, I've been a console gamer for like forever. I only recently switched to PC. It's been 2 years now, we'll say, approximately. If anybody knows my history, gamed on a Commodore, an Atari, Nintendo, gamed on Sega Genesis, and then from after Sega Genesis, it was PlayStation all the way through the PS5. So I've gamed on lots of consoles. But I think all roads are going to lead to PC. I think that's what the direction is. If you just look at how the PS5 has an NVMe drive, the processing chips are like computers now. They're getting to computer level performance. They're not quite there, right? They're an octa below, right? But they're getting there. So anyway, I guess that's enough on that. So we did a lot of talk about gaming today. Like I said, I want to play through 007 First Light. Get some game time in. I want to get some artwork in this week. So hopefully Tuesday, Wednesday art, Thursday, Friday gaming. That would be great if I can make that schedule happen. As far as everything else, man, I think life has been good. It's summertime, so the kids are off. We got lots of things happening. We try to have lots of activities. Which is great. Still chugging, working away. So life is great. As far as growth, I like to touch on growth. Let's take a look. I'll pull up Social Blade and see where we at, man. I know the gaming channel has been growing, y'all. Gaming channel has been growing. And it's just because of the bit of gaming news. It's been helping. Sometimes I nail it. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes it's a good video. Sometimes it's just like, yeah, So, that's something I'm still working on, trying to progress on. All right, let's take a look. So I can click on our gaming channel here. I like Social Blade because it kind of gives you an idea of which direction you're going, And for the most part, I'm seeing bars up. I'll watch Asmongold's videos, and he said you don't want that submarine effect. And for the most part, I don't think I have the submarine effect happening. I mean, the bars go up and down, but I mean, for the most part, the gaming channel is looking like it's growing. You know, let's look at the. You know what I'm gonna look at? I want to look at future projections. So that graph is up. I know what my art channel has been like on a downward slope, which kind of sucks. You know, so where are we putting our podcast on? So you know, I would like the podcast to do better, and I'm trying to be more free flowing with it. Sometimes I want to do like topic specific, you know, but I want it to be more free flowing. I'm trying to get there. So our goal this year has been to hit 500 subscribers. It's saying November, which, you know, to me I think is good. We're at 352 subscribers on our gaming channel, which is up a lot, man. I think that's great, man. We're seeing growth, you know. Video views seem to be going up. We're making more videos every day, so that's great. You know, like I've always said, you know, my channels have grown very slowly, you know. And I'm just excited and happy that it's growing, you know, that we're making some kind of connection, you know. As far as the art channel, let's take a look at that one. I think maybe with the live stream, this may help us a little bit. I need to run clips. Yeah, see, the graph is up and down, man. So like, you know, I have seen some positives on here, but I'm having negatives. So, you know, I gotta do better on the art channel, which I've been trying to. The graph goes up and down, up and down. So, you know, maybe with the live streaming of the podcast on the art channel, maybe this will actually help. I don't know. Future projections, yeah, it's been on a downward slope, which is not good, man. The views are on the up. This is the weird thing about this graph. Okay, the projection views are showing an up, you know, which is interesting. But the subscriber count is showing a downward spiral, which I don't understand that. You know, I don't understand it, man. It's showing a downward spiral. So I'm trying to like figure out ways to get more art content. You know, we're at 384. You know, it's showing us going down. So I'm trying to push this up, man. Any ideas would be much appreciated to help the art channel. Obviously, like, I've only been getting like 2 art days a week. And I missed last week, so, you know, that kind of puts us at a negative because we missed last week. You know, puts the channel kind of dead for that week, right? Because all we had was the podcast, you know. So I got to figure things out on there. And I had mentioned before trying to do some more iPad drawings. Maybe I've got to just try to figure out how to work that in, man. I just don't know how I'm going to record it. You're not going to see me on it. You'll just see, like, the stuff happening. That's the only issue with it, you know. If I'm just out and about with the kids or something, and I'm drawing on the iPad while they're doing whatever, and I'm, you know, maybe that'll work, and I can record something that way. I don't know. Just trying to increase or come up with ideas on how to, you know, increase the art channel's videos and stuff. Any ideas on that would be great. So if people want to chime in, drop me comments. Other than that, y'all, this has been a pretty decent podcast. This has been more free flowing. I kind of was just going off the hip, off the cuff, whatever you want to call it, right? Off the hip. Throwing curveball off the hip or something. I don't know, man. we we're just trying to figure things out, y'all. Figure things out. And a lot of times, like I said, like to me, like me just spitting out these ideas or just talking it out, I think you know, helps me by hearing it from myself or thinking it out loud. Thinking out loud. That's why I call this thinking out loud. You know, I think this is a real beneficial for me. You know, hopefully it's helpful to other folks too. You know, you kind of see where I'm thinking, where I'm going, what I'm trying to do, and maybe it's inspirational for people that, you know, have a family and they want to create content. You know, they work and have, you know, trying to find time to squeeze in. Sometimes it's just short. You know, it's like just an hour long. Like this podcast is usually 30 to 40 minutes, and we just hit over 40 minutes. So proud of that. You know, it's hard to keep going and going. You know, when you don't have a guest or somebody to bounce ideas or talk to or ask questions or something like that, right? It's kind of hard to do like the solo. And I've been running this podcast solo. I had only my wife as a guest, you know. So, you know, it's okay. You know, maybe I'll get to the point where I'll have some actual guests that I know or other content creators. You know, I have a few people that I know, but I think they're mostly camera shy, the folks that are like, will actually probably want to respond and engage. They don't have, like on their channels, they don't show themselves. So, you know, it is what it is, man. I'm going to keep moving forward. We're going to keep pushing day to day and week to week and see what kind of progress we can make working our little job and enjoying retirement and being with the family. So, you know, the dream, I think, for everybody is to be able to earn money from home, right? To be able to, like, create content or do whatever it is you do. Excuse me. If that's music or whatever, to be able to do those things, you know, from home and earn a living, you know, has always been, you know, a dream idea, right? It's the reason why most people want to become a content creator is to be able to work from home, right? At least that's the idea, right, or the concept. Yeah. When you think about it, that's everybody's ideal job, right? To be able to do what you love from the house, share it with others, hopefully be impactful, hopefully be inspirational or whatever, right? You know. Anyway, y'all, hope y'all enjoyed the podcast today. Like I said, I took the free form approach. We threw it from the hip. You know, I do want to have like some topics here and there, you know, talking about different things or spitballing ideas or whatever. So I do want to switch it up from time to time. So, but I am happy with, like, my consistency with the podcast has been, you know, good. My consistency with doing a bit of gaming news has been good, for the most part. It's just the other stuff, you know, fitting in art and gaming, streams and stuff like that. That's been like kind of difficult, but, it's life, man. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and end it here. And I appreciate everyone that listened in today. Don't be afraid to leave your boy a comment. You can follow us on Twitch. You can follow us on YouTube, Art with Errol. It's all Art with Errol. Just, you know, Art with Errol Gaming. We have a Art with Errol Gaming channel. And then on Spotify, we have, you know, the podcast as well. So if you want to just follow the podcast, check and see how we check in every Monday. The podcast is also on Apple and Amazon. So yeah, I think we pretty much cover all bases. And on X, you can find us as Art with Errol, which I'll just like post gaming stuff on there. Every now and then I may post some artwork. Yeah, so if you're looking for me, it's real easy to find me. Just type in Art with Errol in the search bar and you'll find me. All right, y'all. Till next time, you know what to do. I'm out of here.